Hello everyone, welcome back. I am Dr. Alexandra, a naturopathic physician out in Scottsdale, Arizona, and this channel is for you if you are looking for tips and tricks on all things women's hormones and aesthetics. Today's video, we are going through an awesome topic, which is vitamin C in skincare. We're going to be talking about what kind of formulas you should be looking for and how to make sure that your vitamin C is actually going to work in your skincare. Which, you know, nobody wants to waste their money on skincare that does nothing. So this is a great video. Before we do that though, if you're liking the content that we put out, please go ahead and like it for me. It really helps to boost my channel and to get the videos out in front of people that it can help. On top of that, if you want to know when our next videos are coming out, hitting the subscribe and notification bell will let you know exactly when we are posting our next videos. So let's dive right in. First of all, why would we use vitamin C? Vitamin C has a lot of benefits in the skin. It brightens the skin, and it does this by reducing melanin synthesis and is a mild tyrosinase inhibitor, which is going to help with those dark spots and the hyperpigmentation. It increases collagen production. It's a potent antioxidant, and it helps with UV protection. Now that one comes with a little bit of a caveat. It only helps with UV protection if it's used with sunscreen, right? Vitamin C can actually be a little bit sun sensitizing, so you always have to use sunscreen. And when mixed with sunscreen, it actually does help with UV protection, which again is one of the #1 reasons why our skin ages. Let's dive into forms. When we think about vitamin C, most people go to L-ascorbic acid, and L-ascorbic acid is the form of vitamin C that's found in your skin. It is a very finicky molecule to actually use in skincare. Why do I say that? Well, it's not readily absorbed into the skin, so it has to have a very low pH. It has to have a pH of less than 3.5, which makes it really hard to formulate with other formulas because other things have pHs that are a little bit higher. So for example, retinol has a pH of 5 to 6, and then vitamin C has a pH of less than 3.5 in order to get into the dermis. And so you can't use those two things together because they're basically just going to cancel each other out. Other things to think about with vitamin C is that because it's not really well absorbed and it's not very stable, we have to add things to it to stabilize it. So that's why you see a lot of vitamin C formulas with C and E, because E helps with increasing vitamin C's efficacy, and ferulic acid, because ferulic acid helps with increasing absorption and stabilization. Stabilization is the next issue with vitamin C. Vitamin C is really easily oxidized and it's not very stable. So we have to keep vitamin C away from light, we have to keep it away from heat, and we have to keep it in airtight containers. That's why almost every single vitamin C container that you'll see is either going to be a pump, like an airless container, or it's going to be an amber bottle. That's also why checking your vitamin C for what color it is really important. So if you have a nice yellow vitamin C, that's great. If you have a vitamin C that's looking a little rusty, ambery, it's probably time to get rid of it. It is doing, in theory, more harm than good on your skin at that point. So those are kind of the issues with vitamin C. So what we've talked about so far is the fact that vitamin C really sounds like it needs to be used on its own, right? And that can be challenging for patient skincare routines, especially because when it comes to vitamin C use, research shows that it is a great thing to use at the end of your day because its potent antioxidant effect helps with getting rid of the oxidation that's occurred during the day. But if you can't use it with things like retinol, you can't use retinol in the morning, what are you gonna do, right? So some of that is timing, and I do often recommend doing your vitamin C in the morning because it's just easier for patients. And your skincare does you no good if it never makes it onto your skin, it turns out. So I do recommend usually doing it in the morning, but there are other ways to combat this. And the other ways to combat this are using second-generation vitamin Cs. What do I mean by that? So basically, the second-generation vitamin Cs, what happens is their second carbon group on the vitamin C is stabilized with a carbohydrate group. What this means is that it stabilizes the molecule, and research shows it gets deeper into the dermis. So it gets into the dermis, further into the dermis, and it gets into the dermis faster, and it lasts longer in the dermis, which means that its effect is now not as short-lived as a first-generation L-ascorbic acid would be. So I brought a couple of my favorite vitamin C products. So here's why they're my favorite. This one is the Super Serum by IS Clinical. This one is a serum all the way. So it's very thin, it goes on very nicely, and it does not leave any sticky residue on the skin at all. It is a second generation vitamin C, so the science behind it really does show it getting into the dermis further and lasting into the dermis, so more long-lasting effects. I love this for somebody who really wants something super clean to go on their skin and wants a serum base to do that. Usually with a serum, you end up putting like a moisturizer or something like that over top of it. Some patients love that, some patients don't. The next product that I brought in is a cream-based product. And so what's interesting is that vitamin C is water soluble. What that means is that most of the time we can't put it into a cream. That's why you don't see very much vitamin C in creams. This form of vitamin C, which is Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate, yes, say that fast, is actually lipid soluble, which means that we can put it into a cream, which means that we get a moisturizing base plus the benefits of vitamin C. They've also found studies on Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate show that it is penetrated 4 times better into the dermis and lasts longer in the dermis, like we talked about earlier, so your effect of that vitamin C is more long-lived. So these are really great, 2 really great products using second-generation vitamin C's, and a Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate is a second-generation vitamin C that you can look for in your serums. This also gets you around the pH issue, because the Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate is formulated closer to a pH usually of just under 5, right? So when we think about retinols are a pH of 5 to 6, which means that you can actually stack your products a little bit better and use them in conjunction with one another and still get benefit instead of canceling them out. So it's a lot less finicky of a product. So when we're looking at vitamin C, we talked about when we should use it. I usually do recommend using it in the morning, even though research does show at night. I found my patients do way better with it in the morning. And always, always, always with the sunscreen over top of it, because it can be a little bit sun sensitizing. The other thing to think about with vitamin C is concentration. So with L-ascorbic acid, you're looking for a concentration of at least 8, closer to 20. So 20 is your max. Over 20, you're going to get irritation. Under 8, it's not going to work very well. 15 to 20 is usually that sweet spot. With some of the second generation vitamin C's, you can get closer to a 10% vitamin C that acts closer to a 20% vitamin C, which just means that you're going to get less irritation, less issues, more benefit, and you're going to be able to use it better because it's not going to irritate your skin quite so much. So adding in a vitamin C is one of the #1 things that I recommend for my patients in terms of helping their overall brightening of the skin and helping their collagen production. When should you absolutely add in a vitamin C? So you may want to add in a vitamin C in the summer because you just have more UV exposure in the summer and your skin needs a little bit more of that antioxidant protection to help with that. The other time you may want to add in a vitamin C is if you're under high metabolic or physical or mental stress. We know that stress and your adrenal glands will use up a lot more vitamin C when they're under stress. If your body's using vitamin C, it's pushing it to other pathways, it's not going to be pushing it to your skin. So during times of high stress, adding in additional vitamin C topically can be a really, really great way to make sure that some of that gets into your skin. And then same thing with infection. We know that when you have an infection, your rates of absorption of vitamin C go up dramatically. And again, your body's using that vitamin C for other things. So that's a really great time to make sure that you are getting in some topically so that it's going to you're still going to be getting that skin benefit while the rest of your vitamin C that you're taking orally is going towards other things. If you have questions, let me know. Also, drop me a comment and let me know which vitamin C products you've been loving. And if you love our content, go ahead and like the video. We'll see you next Friday.